From NBC 15, this is breaking news.
We are following two breaking news stories for you right now. First, we're tracking a heavy police presence in the area of Cottage Grove Road and Monona Drive.
Now, we know this is near the Grove Apartments near the Walgreens, and we know there was a shots fired call that came in earlier this afternoon. NBC 15's Gabriella Rusk just got to the scene in the last half hour. Gabriella, what time do authorities say the shots fired call came in this afternoon, and what are you seeing?
Yeah, Lee, that call came in just about 3:15 this afternoon, and Madison police have been here on scene since I arrived within the hour. We've seen many police squad cars drive around this complex, and it appears the police are focusing their investigation on an upstairs apartment here in this complex. Now, we talked with the residents who live here, and they tell us right now no one is being allowed in or out of the building, so they are trying to figure out what's happening just as we are here on scene. We are being careful not to show any location of police officers so as to give away any strategy that they have as they continue their investigation. We'll be following up on this throughout the newscast tonight, but for now, live in Madison, Gabriella Rusk, NBC 15 News.
Gabriella, thank you, and we are going to check in with you in about 15 minutes for an update. There's also a tactical situation underway right now in McFarland. McFarland police say officers are in the area of North Autumn Lane and asking people to avoid that area. Police say there is someone armed inside one of the homes in that area. So if you live there or are in that area, please stay inside, lock all doors and windows. They do tell us the Autumn Lane area is contained. We have a crew on the way to that scene. Here is a live look now in Kenosha tonight. After day 2 of jury deliberations wraps up, still no verdict. Kyle Rittenhouse shot 3 men, killing 2 and injuring the 3rd during protests in Kenosha last summer. He is charged with 5 felonies.
Now, jurors will continue deliberations at 9 tomorrow morning.
And as those deliberations continue, we're also following the request for a mistrial without prejudice from the defense. That over a video file the defense claims was of lesser quality than what the state presented.
The prosecution argues it was sent from an Apple to an Android phone and it cannot be held responsible for something that happened during a transfer.
Now, that potential mistrial question is still on the table until the judge makes a decision.
Let's bring in NBC 15's Elise Romas. Elise, obviously a lot going on inside that courthouse today, but walk us through what you're seeing there behind you and outside the courthouse.
Well, John, I'll show you. This group has actually shrunk in size significantly. I'd say this is about half the size of the group that I saw a couple hours ago when I arrived. Both people on both sides of what's going on here, people who are in favor of a conviction of Kyle Rittenhouse and people who have come to support Kyle Rittenhouse. It looks like there's a group of people actually discussing that right now in front of me. But that's the scene that I have seen today. So far, it has been peaceful, but I spoke with people who have differing opinions on this matter about what they want to see after a verdict is reached. Demonstrators are waiting for a verdict outside the Kenosha County Courthouse.
We pray now for this city and those that have been protesting on either side to be able to do it in peace and respect.
And are asking for peace and safety, no matter who they support.
I've been praying for peace because there is so much emotions involved in this right now. Everybody is speaking with their emotions, yelling at everybody.
We all agree on one thing: let's live and let live. Regardless of what our opinion or political philosophies are, let's walk away from here alive.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And either way the verdict goes, we just need to stay peaceful so then everybody can heal and move on from this.
We can do this, Kenosha becomes a better city and we become better people.
Now, many of these people are calling for peace, demonstrators asking for that on the steps of the Kenosha County Courthouse today. But I did just speak with Kenosha police, and they tell me that they did make 2 arrests today. Otherwise, things have been pretty quiet here in Kenosha. For now, live in Kenosha, Elise Romas, NBC 15 News.
Elise, thanks. This 2-week trial has sparked a lot of conversation about the judicial system and a fair trial or the perception of one. We are joined now by John Gross. He is a clinical associate professor at the University of Wisconsin Law School and an expert on criminal defense practices. Thank you for joining us. As we mentioned, the jury deliberating now for 2 days. Typically, the longer a jury is out, the better it is for the defense, right? Although there are 5 charges to discuss. What's your read on how the deliberations are going?
Well, I think it's always hard to get a read on how deliberations are going because we're not in the room with the jurors, and we have to try to infer the direction they might be moving in based on the questions they ask or based on the evidence that they want to see. But as you mentioned, there are 6 charges here, or at least 5 charges still remaining. There are lesser included charges to consider. There's a lot of video evidence. There was a fair amount of testimony. So my expectation was that the jury was going to need some time to sift through all of that and have an open discussion about what they think the correct verdict should be.
Now, we know the defense is pushing for a mistrial on some of that video evidence. What does this mean moving forward as these deliberations continue?
I don't think that this discrepancy in terms of the resolution of the video between the prosecution and the defense is really grounds for a mistrial. I think this is one of those things that we would have hoped had been worked out in a pretrial ruling before the case started, making sure that everybody had the same video, access to the same evidence. But I think just the matter of the resolution of the video is probably not going to be enough to warrant a mistrial.
And I want to ask, the judge today blasted media coverage of some of his decisions. Did the way he allowed Rittenhouse to be involved in jury selection surprise you?
I would say it was a little out of the ordinary. I think typically in courtrooms, a clerk usually performs that function, but it was his custom and practice. We really are just talking about somebody randomly drawing numbers out of a tumbler to decide who stays and who goes. So I think it was a bit of a flair for the dramatic at the end of the trial to have Mr. Rittenhouse do it. But the judge throughout the trial has been sort of surprising us at different times.
John, thank you. Appreciate your insights and hope you'll help us out again as we continue to follow this trial. Again, jury deliberations are wrapped up for the night. They are going to continue tomorrow, John, at 9 a.m.
And of course, our team is going to stay in Kenosha, monitor the conditions there. So stay with us at NBC 15 News at 6 here and 10 o'clock later tonight and, of course, tomorrow.
Well, we are looking at some clouds right now and maybe a sprinkle or two, but you'll notice a lot of this rain showing up on the radar not actually reaching the ground. It's just too dry here at the surface, and that'll continue to be the case for most places. Behind this, skies are going to clear and temperatures are going to drop. We're already going from the 40s into the 30s as you move towards Baraboo, Viroqua, Camp Douglas. We are running a couple degrees cooler than this time yesterday, and we'll be down to the upper 20s by tomorrow morning. Much more on this chill and what it means for the weekend coming up in just a bit.
A UW-Madison student is searching for answers tonight after he says he was hit by a car while riding his bike. NBC 15's Taj Mahal spoke to the young man, and Tajma, he told you initially that he had some difficulty filing a police report.
That's right, Lee. Alex Lemkule, a senior at UW-Madison, says he was riding his bike home after a late night of studying when he was hit by a car. Now, he says the driver stopped to exchange information, but gave him a fake number.
I just remember laying there and I was kind of confused.
Alex Lemkule says on November 1st, just after 2 a.m., he was knocked off of his bike by a car in downtown Madison near the corner of Main and Bedford Streets.
I was dazed. I really wasn't sure what was going on.
When the driver pulled over, Alex tried to exchange information and suggested they wait for police.
He says, "How about this? I'm just going to give you my number and then I'm going to get going."
Alex says after the man gave him his number, he quickly drove away before Alex could jot down a license plate number or get a name.
I was bleeding. My apartment is 2 buildings away. I knew my roommate was going to be there and I knew that he was going to be awake. So I walked very quickly over to my apartment carrying my bike and a few of the things that were scattered along the street over here.
Later that day, Alex says he tried to call the driver, but the number was not in service. Because he only had minor injuries and the incident happened earlier that morning, he called Madison PD's non-emergency line to report a hit and run.
The main thing that they wanted to know was I at the scene of the accident? And I told them at the moment that I was not, but I was at my apartment, which is 2 buildings away.
Alex says he was told that because he left the scene, they weren't able to send officers to file a report, and he was directed to fill out a form online. But he didn't have enough information on the driver to complete it.
I called back the police because I was very distraught. The police told me, they said, Everybody knows that you don't leave the scene of an accident.
Alex then spent days doing his own investigation, but calls to area businesses for surveillance video were unsuccessful.
It's very frustrating.
Weeks later, he's still without a bike, which was his primary transportation. Now he's worried he'll never track down the driver.
There's a very strong chance and almost a guarantee that all of the footage that would have been taped of this incident has been already erased.
Now, Alex says he had to reach out to his local alder to get a police report filed. I reached out to MPD to find out why this took so long. A spokesperson says under these circumstances, protocol does not require an officer to complete a report since both parties left the scene. Live in the studio tonight, Taj Mahal, NBC 15 News.
Thank you, Tajma. Let's take another live look at the breaking news near Cottage Grove Road and Monona Drive. We will check back in with our NBC 15's Gabriella Rusk, who has been on the scene there in just about 5 minutes. She'll give us the most up-to-the-minute information.
Some construction barrels are finally being removed in our area. A ribbon-cutting ceremony marking the end of the Fish Hatchery Road reconstruction project. The more than $20 million project began 2 years ago. And 60,000 vehicles a day traveling along I-3990 between Beloit and Madison will also see fewer orange barrels. All lanes and interchange ramps are open in both Dane and Rock counties. The interstate construction project began in 2015.
We're still closely following the breaking news near Cottage Grove Road and Monona Drive. We'll check back in with NBC 15's Gabriella Rusk in just 2 minutes for an update there. A heavy police presence reported near Cottage Grove Road and Monona Drive. Our team is on the ground there, so let's go back to NBC 15's Gabriella Rusk and photojournalist Jason Rice. Gabriella, what have you learned in the last 15 minutes?
Yeah, John, this scene is very active, and I've been talking with residents who are not allowed inside this building. I spoke with one resident who tells me that this is not the first time she's come home from work and had a situation like this happen where she's been locked out of her building due to a police presence on scene. She tells me her family is upstairs. Her name is Katana James, and she's just anxious to get inside and get home to them. She knows they're safe. Actually, I got to FaceTime with her and her family inside. They say they didn't hear anything just based off of where they are within the apartment building. But like I said, residents are just trying to figure out what's going on, as are police. And they appear to be focusing their investigation on an upstairs apartment. You've seen officers here on scene milling around and moving about. We're not giving away their exact location, but here's what that resident that I spoke to earlier had to say.
Well, my 7-month-old is locked inside right now. My husband isn't home. My mom is upstairs with her, and I want to get inside to my baby, and I can't. And I don't want her to grow up around this. I want to be able to get out of my lease. I want to be able to move. I want to get out.
Yeah, and this building, she tells me, just opened in the last year or so. So many residents are maybe new to this area. They're just in a tense situation trying to figure out what's going on, as are police here on scene. Like we said, we're going to be doing our best to figure out what is going on here in this developing situation. But for now, live in Madison, Gabriella Rusk, NBC 15 News.
And now, your first alert forecast from NBC 15.
Definitely a change in the air today.
Let's check in on a second tactical situation underway right now in McFarland. Now, McFarland police say officers are in the area of North Autumn Lane. They're asking you to avoid that area. NBC 15's Michelle Beck joins us now from there. Michelle, police say there is somebody armed inside one of the homes in the area.
Yeah, John, police are actually right across the street from me at Sigel Cow Road. There are several police officers. Dane County Sheriff are blocking this entrance into North Autumn Lane. And just up the hill, there is a street of just homes here, and they are focused around a home. It's hard to make out what exactly our police are saying over a megaphone, but it appears from this, quote, tactical situation in which there is a potential armed suspect inside, police are trying to communicate. That's what it appears with this megaphone. And the message is clear from police: go inside right now. We see some people walking around their neighborhoods, but that is the message: go inside right now. For now, live in McFarland, Michelle Beck, NBC 15 News.
We'll continue to follow both of those breaking news stories. Meanwhile, the Badgers prepare for Nebraska this Saturday. Hear what they expect from the Cornhuskers next in NBC 15 Sports. We do want to take one more look at that second tactical situation underway right now in McFarland. McFarland police say officers are in the area of North Autumn Lane. They are asking you to avoid that area. Police report someone is armed inside one of those homes. We are following this and the other developing story in Monona, and we will continue to follow them through the night and post updates on air and online.
Well, we are looking at some clouds right now.